Hi, I'm Kendra with Where's the Moon Astrology, and today I'm talking about Sagittarius. Sagittarius is fire mutable, okay? So we have fire element, mutable quadruplicity, meaning that Sagittarius is one of the fire signs, so obviously passionate, and then you have mutable, which is sort of changeable, adaptable, just really easily conforms to changing circumstances. The first thing that you'll want to know about Sagittarius is that they are a very belief-oriented sign. So they're generally oriented to spirituality, philosophy, things like that. Sometimes they're religious, sometimes the belief, though, the belief could be anything. The belief could be conspiracy theories, the belief could be atheism, the commitment to believing in nothing, but regardless of what you believe, it's a belief system. So they're going to be pretty committed to not spirituality. They're going to be pretty committed to a belief system generally. Sometimes that's the only thing they're really committed to. Because they're so belief-oriented, they really like to learn. They really like to take in information from the world around them because it's important to them to have the information that they need in order to develop their belief system and find a belief system that they're comfortable with. So they're always trying to learn. They're typically a sign that likes to read a lot. They're a sign that likes to study a lot. They're really learners. Actually, Sagittarius rules higher education. I have a Sagittarius moon, and when I was probably 12 or 13, I was obsessed with going to college. It was just so part of me to really want to gain that higher education and, really make myself more knowledgeable. Because Sagittarius really likes to learn, they're also really good teachers. And Sagittarius can have a way of kind of acting like they know everything, so they make natural teachers. If they don't know something, then they're going to figure it out so that they can come up with an answer, because it's really important to them to make sure that they have an answer for everything. They have a way of putting certain things, and they're storytellers as well, so they can educate you and make you laugh at the same time, and that's something that's really endearing about them. Sagittarius is also, and this can be a complaint from some people, Sagittarius is also very independent and freedom-loving. They really like to have their space. They don't like to be confined or told what to do. This doesn't mean that they're unloving or they can't commit necessarily. Okay, so I have a Sagittarius moon. I will continue to use myself as an example. Moon is a pretty important placement for a person, and I have my moon in Sagittarius. So it's not that I can't fall in love or I can't commit to somebody, but I really prefer that person doesn't hold me down in any way, physically or otherwise. I don't like, typically Sagittarius tends to be actually kind of claustrophobic. Like, they don't like to be physically pinned down. I have to sleep facing away from my partner if I'm in a relationship or something. I have to sleep facing away. I'll cuddle or whatever right up until it's time to go to sleep. But when I go to sleep, don't touch me. I'm turning away from you and I'm going to sleep. That's my time to sleep. Freedom loving, they just really want to be able to do their own thing. They don't want to have people force them to put a label on themselves. They don't like to be forced to stay in one place. Anything that they feel is restrictive, that is going to be something that really, really bothers them. That is a Sagittarius pet peeve. You do not want to restrict or try to control Sagittarius in any way, because they will love you and they will love you hard and they will love you passionately, but they still don't want to be confined. They still don't want to be tied down. Along with that, freedom loving comes a love of travel. And of course, along with the wanting to learn. Sagittarius really wants to learn, and part of that is learning about other cultures. They really love to travel. They love to experience the world. That is Sagittarius' whole deal. They really like to venture out into the world. And this can be, I live in the United States. This could be just traveling within the United States, or it could be, really traveling, going to a different country altogether, which is definitely on my bucket list, traveling a lot outside the United States. But it's really, really important to them to experience other cultures. And if they can't do that physically, they will do it from their computer screen. Make friends with people of other cultures, just really invest themselves in learning about life outside of what they know. Now, okay, so Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion, abundance, and optimism. Optimism is key for Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the sign that will be optimistic no matter what. They're the Pollyanna of the zodiac. You cannot make a Sagittarius depressed for long. They will find a way to come out of whatever kind of funk they're in. And if they can't, then you know something is definitely really wrong. Because Sagittarius just can't be held down for long. We get depressed like everybody else, but it just doesn't last. There's joy. You can find joy anywhere. So Sagittarius is innately aware of that. They really want to be happy, and they're going to find a reason to be happy. If they can't find one, they'll make one. What comes with this is just, a cheery, abundant, happy kind of attitude, and a really good sense of humor. Sagittarius tends to have a very good sense of humor. As I said before, they're storytellers. Every Sagittarius sun I know is, well, not every single Sagittarius sun, but most Sagittarius suns I know are extremely good storytellers. They will just sit there and they tend to exaggerate a bit. Along with the expansion comes exaggeration. So while they tend to expand the details of an event in order to make a better story, but personally, I don't really care. If you leave me in stitches, then I don't really care if you're exaggerating some details. But they'll sit there and they'll just go on and tell you this long story with all these funny details, and they'll just have you in stitches. And they usually have just a really great retort that they just always know what to say to leave you completely in stitches. And the kind of more softer Sagittarius types, they're going to be just kind of happy and cheery and peaceful. They tend to be really generous as well. Sometimes. It depends on what they're being generous with. Now for the dark side of Sagittarius. Along with that spirituality, the orientation towards having a belief system and having strong beliefs, can come a certain self-righteousness. Sagittarius tends to do this thing where they know that they're right and they can be a little condescending. They like to give unsolicited advice. Okay, so if you have Mars in Sagittarius, Mars being how you fight, how you go about getting what you want, and how the way you assert yourself. Mars in Sagittarius in a fight is the kind of Mars that will attack you by attacking your intelligence and making you feel like you're stupid. And other Sagittarius placements can be like this too. They'll attack your intellect, and they won't even always necessarily do this in an outright kind of way. They'll just do it by talking down to you, or you say something that you think, and they'll say, and you don't, they don't have to say it. You know what they're thinking. They're thinking you're an idiot. Now, the dark side of Sagittarius being freedom-loving is being a commitment phobe, always thinking the grass is greener on the other side. Doesn't have to mean that, doesn't mean that, Sagittarius can't fall in love, but for many Sagittarius people, it does mean that. They have a very hard time committing to people. They have a very hard time investing emotionally. They don't like to be tied down. They don't like to have their freedom infringed on. And Sagittarius can have a bit of a hard time understanding the idea that you can be in a healthy relationship that doesn't infringe on your freedom, and it'll be a good relationship, and you'll actually, be more emotionally satisfied. But Sagittarius can be a bit, they just avoid relationship to their own detriment. They could be very happy sometimes, and they're too afraid. And I'm guilty of this with my moon in Sagittarius. I'll go long stretches of time being single, because even if somebody that seems great comes along, I'm just afraid. I'm not gonna do it. I'm afraid of how they're going to restrict me, what kind of limitations they're going to put on me. Sagittarius does not like to have restrictions put on them, but this is a dark side because they can be like this to the point of not being able to have any kind of healthy relationship, even with their friends or their family, and they can hurt people because just because they're not going to commit to you doesn't mean they don't want to do other things with you. So they can really hurt you in that way by just kind of giving you just enough, investing in you just enough, and then making you think that there might be something there, and it just is never going to happen because of where they are at that point, not because of you, but because of where they are and their beliefs about relationships and what a relationship would entail. So they can have that tendency to use people as well. Now, at the dark side of that optimism that Sagittarius has, oh, that's a fun one. Again, something that I am guilty of. It can be over-optimism. Optimism to the point of losing all sense of reality, which really sounds more Neptunian, Piscean, but Sagittarius does it too, believe me. Sagittarius can be so optimistic, just have this always, all this awareness. And I tell myself this all the time. It's like, it's going to be okay. You're going to land on your feet. There's no point in getting upset about anything. And it's true. But Sagittarius believes this through thick and thin, to their own detriment, to the point that they don't seek to improve or change their circumstances because they're just like, oh, it'll all work out, If I'm jobless, then I just am, whatever. Something will happen when it's supposed to happen, Big on fatalism as well. But what Sagittarius doesn't realize is that, yeah, you're going to land on your feet, but that's because somebody else is going to help you, and you're going to be putting them out. I mean, it's kind of rude what we do. They just believe so much that everything's going to work out in their benefit, and yeah, that's true. They just don't see how somebody is always paying the price for you to just land on your feet. It's not just free happiness and free everything. Like, everything's just going to work out magically. Somebody is going to make that happen for you. But Sagittarius is super, super lucky. I forgot to mention that bit. Sagittarius is a very lucky sign. Wherever Sagittarius falls in your chart, you're going to be lucky. We tend to be just very lucky people, and we do land on our feet, and that is often because people find Sagittarius endearing and want to help them for some reason. Sagittarius can just be kind of selfish and kind of clueless, and they don't really know how their behavior is putting other people out. They can also be really blunt because they're a sign that's really associated with honesty. So on one hand, Sagittarius is going to be honest with you. They're going to tell you how they really feel about something, but on the other hand, they can be so blunt that they're just being rude, and it's not just being honest, it's just a little much. They're being nasty. So that was my video on Sagittarius. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will have Capricorn out for you shortly.